Guys, this is Bridget from the DeVay Homestead. Welcome back. Today I have this super cute hat inspired by Skye from Paw Patrol. We have the ears and we have the goggles just like Skye. The base of the hat is a super quick, easy hat, and then we are going to make the goggles and attach them, and then we are going to make the ears and attach those as well, and I'll show you how to do all this in this video. I hope you guys enjoy. Please subscribe to my channel where I'll have lots more character hats. Thank you guys. Let's get started. To start our hat, we're first going to do our cast on. Today I'm using a double Ewrap method for our cast on. You can use whatever method that you would like. I'm going to first start by making a slip knot and placing that slip knot on my anchor peg and secure. To make my double Ewrap, I'm going to double Ewrap each peg and knit off. So continue your cast on and meet me back here. My cast on is complete and now we're ready to start the hat. To start the hat in the same color white, we're going to do 3 garter ridges. A garter ridge is achieved by doing 1 row of an Ewrap knit stitch and 1 row of a purl stitch. And we're going to repeat that 3 times. So to do our Ewrap knit stitch, we're going to bring our yarn behind the peg and we're going to wrap it like a cursive E. And since we're doing the whole row, we can go ahead and wrap a few at a time and then hold our yarn. Then go ahead and knit them off. So go ahead and repeat that around for the first row and then meet me back here. I'm just finishing up my first row. Once you finish your first row, you can go ahead and take your starting yarn off your anchor peg and push it to the center of your loom, and we'll let that just hang until we finish our hat and then we'll weave it in. So for our second row, we're going to do a purl stitch. For our purl, we're going to take our hook and put it underneath the loop that is on the peg. We're going to scoop up our working yarn. We're going to take the loop off the peg and put the new loop on and gently pull our yarn. Old loop off, new loop on, gently pull. So continue on doing your whole row with a purl stitch and then meet me back here. I just finished up my second row. So now I'm going to repeat rows 1 and 2 for 2 more times to make a total of 3 garter ridges. I just finished my 6 rows to make my 3 garter ridges. Now I'm going to do a color change to my pink. So I've cut my white off and I'm going to take my pink and make a slip knot and place that slip knot on the last peg that I knitted. I'm going to take my tail end of my pink and my tail end of my white and I'm going to tie them into a knot. Then take your slip knot off of the peg and pull out the knot. And then you want to hold the new pink and the old pink together as you continue on, and that will weave in your tail. The white we're just going to leave and we will weave that in when we are finished. So our next row is going to be an Ewrap knit stitch. So we're going to Ewrap and knit off the next row. for our second row in our light pink, we are going to do a figure 8 stitch. To do a figure 8 stitch, we are going to take our yarn that's connected with our last peg. We're going to call the peg next to it peg 1 and then peg 2. So from your working yarn peg, you're going to skip peg 1 and you're going to Ewrap peg 2. Then you're going to come back and Ewrap peg 1 and then knit off both of them. So now your working yarn is connected to what was peg 1. So now this is our new peg, and we're going to skip the peg next to it, go to this one, Ewrap, come back to the first peg, Ewrap, and knit off. So each time we do this, we're moving over one peg, even though we are knitting off 2. So now we are connected to this peg. We're going to skip this one, go to the next peg, Ewrap, come back to that peg, Ewrap, and knit off. When I knit off my second peg, I usually will take my hook and push that loop down. That way, when I come and Ewrap for the second time, I have room to Ewrap on top of there. So continue on this row of figure 8 and meet me back here. I'm just finishing up my last row of figure 8, and I just wanted to show you what that was like. So I wrapped this one and then I knitted it off, but my working yarn is still connected to this peg. So in order to complete the row, I need to skip the last peg and go to the first peg of the next row, do my figure 8 stitch, and now my working yarn is connected to my last peg and I am finished this row. So we did one row of Ewrap and one row of figure 8. Now we're going to do 3 more rows. We're going to do one more row of Ewrap, one more row of figure 8, and then end in one row of Ewrap. So that gives us 5 total rows in our light pink color. Ewrap, figure 8, Ewrap, figure 8, Ewrap. So finish all your 5 rows in your light pink and meet me back here. I just finished the 5 rows of my light pink, and now I'm going to change colors to my dark pink. Once I have my dark pink, I'm going to do 4 garter rows. So on the brim, we did 3 garter rows, or garter ridges, by doing 1 row of Ewrap and 1 row of purl 3 times. So for our dark pink, we're going to do 4 garter ridges. So that means we're going to Ewrap 1 row, purl 1 row, and we're going to repeat that 4 times. So go ahead and Ewrap your first row, purl your second row, and do that 4 times, and then meet me back here. Now I'm finished my 8 rows that made my 4 garter ridges, and now I'm going to do a color change back to our light pink. With our light pink, we're going to finish the rest of the hat. So for the rest of the hat, we're going to alternate rows between our Ewrap knit stitch and our figure 8 stitch, just like we did on the 5 pink rows down here. So alternate between your Ewrap knit stitch and your figure 8 stitch till you get the length of the hat that you would like. So finish off the length of your hat and then meet me back here for our bind off. I've completed the body of my hat. For this one, I did 5 sets of an Ewrap one row and figure 8 the next row. I did 5 sets of that, and then I finished in an Ewrap row. You always want to finish in an Ewrap row. That way your drawstring bind off will work better. Once we're finished our drawstring bind off, we want to weave in these threads that are hanging from where we changed the colors, and we also want to weave in our starting yarn. The ones in the middle, when we did the color change, we did knots when we color changed, so we can just weave those in. But for the bottom, I'm going to make a knot so that we can secure it. So first I'm going to weave it in a little bit away from the edge, and then I'm going to secure it with a knot. And then I'm going to weave the ends in. So continue weaving your ends in, and then we'll finish up our hat. And the base of our hat is complete, and now we will do the embellishments. To make the goggles for Skye's hat, you will need your 12 peg flower loom. You will also need your dark pink and a light gray. For the light gray, the color that I like is this yarn called I Love This Yarn that is sold at Hobby Lobby, and it's a number 4 worsted weight, so I'm going to use 2 strands together as one when I get to that color. So for our loom, I'm going to number the pegs so that when I tell you which peg to do something on, you'll know what peg I'm referring to. So if I'm starting here at my anchor peg, the peg to the left, because I'm working clockwise, this will be peg 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and the last peg will be peg 12. We're going to take a slip knot, and we're going to place the slip knot on peg 12. Now I'm going to do my cast on, and for my cast on I'm going to double Ewrap pegs 1 through 11 and knit off. Back around to peg 12, and I'm going to purl peg 12. First I'm going to just take this yarn and just stick it to the inside to get it out of my way. Now I'm going to purl peg 12. And now my cast on is complete. For the next round, I'm going to purl pegs 1 through 12. For the next row, I am going to E-wrap and knit off pegs 1 through 12 with this same dark pink color. Now I'm ready for a color change. I'm going to cut off the dark pink, but I'm going to leave a tail about 18 inches long, or even a little bit longer, because I'm going to use this at the end to sew this goggle onto the hat. Now I'm going to take my gray color and I'm going to make a slip knot. I'm going to place the slip knot on peg number 1. I can go ahead and push my other pegs down since my next row is going to be an Ewrap. So once I have my gray on, I'm going to E-wrap and knit over pegs 2 through 12. First, I'm going to knit off peg 1, then I'm going to E-wrap and knit off pegs 2 through 12. I'm just going to pull these extra loops through the center and just get those out of my way. I'm going to push my loops down, and for the next row I'm going to E-wrap and knit off pegs 1 through 12. Now for our next row, we are going to do a decrease. In order to do a decrease, we are going to be moving loops. We are going to take loop 2 and we're going to move loop 2 to peg 1. And then we are going to knit over. Then we are going to take peg 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to move the loop on peg 5 over to peg 4 and knit over. Now we are going to take peg 8, 6, 7, 8 and move 8 over to peg 7. And knit over. One more. We are now going to take peg 11 and move it over to peg 10. And knit over. Next, we're going to have a round of Ewraps, but in order to do an Ewrap, we don't have loops on every peg, so we will just go behind that peg and skip it. So the way that will look is we are going to take our working yarn and we are going to Ewrap peg 1 and knit off, and then come behind to peg 3 and 4 and knit off, and we're going to continue that around all the way to loop 12. So behind, Ewrap, Ewrap, behind, Ewrap, Ewrap, and then over to peg 12, Ewrap and knit off. Now we are ready for our drawstring bind off. To do that, we are going to measure out about 1.5 times around our circle and cut off our yarn. Then starting with peg 1, we are going to do what looks like a purl stitch, except we're going to pull it all the way out. And then you can go ahead and take that one off the peg. Coming from behind, we're going to go to the next peg that has a loop and do the same thing, and do that all the way around. Now we can pull our drawstring and we're going to thread our gray onto a yarn needle. Once we have our gray on the yarn needle, you want to push it through the center and bring it to the back side of our work. Then we can close up the hole just like we do for a normal drawstring bind off. Now I'm going to feed the other gray, put that on my yarn needle and weave that in, and I'm going to take my short tail that I started with for the pink and I'm going to weave that in, but I'm going to leave the long one because that one I'm going to use to secure this to the hat. So go ahead and finish that off. We are ready to make the ear. To make the ear, I am using a number 4 worsted weight yarn. So I'm going to use 2 strands together as one. Make a slip knot and place your slip knot onto a peg onto your loom. And we are going to do our double Ewrap cast on method for 6 more pegs. We have a total now of 7 pegs that have loops on them. We are going to call this peg 1 on this side, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and our last one over here, 7. So I just numbered them just to kind of help you when I go through. I'll say the numbers of the pegs. So that's what I'm referring to. So we have our cast on and we need to start row 1. To start row 1, we're going to take our yarn and we are going to Ewrap pegs 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and peg 7, and then knit off. Notice that I did not Ewrap the peg that I started with. So Ewrap pegs 2 through 7 and knit off. And push those loops down. Now for row 2, we are going to do just like we did for row 1, but going in the opposite direction. So we're not going to wrap peg 7, we are going to wrap peg 6, peg 5, peg 4, peg 3, peg 2, peg 1, and knit off. So we just completed rows 1 and rows 2. We are going to repeat that pattern for 4 more times to make a total of 10 rows exactly like this. So finish your 10 rows and meet me back here. I'll show it to you again. Ewrap 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, knit off, push down, and come back. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and knit off. Now 3 more times for that 2-row repeat. I'm just finishing up row 10. Push those down, and now I'm ready to do my decrease. For my decrease, I am going to take peg number 2, the loop off of peg number 2, and I'm going to move it to peg number 3. Then I'm going to take the loop off of peg 1 and move it to peg 2. Now I'm going to Ewrap peg 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and knit off. When I knit off peg 3, I will have the 2 loops at the bottom. I'm going to just knit off both of those. And push the row down. Now I'm moving back to the left and I'm going to do another decrease. To do the decrease on this side, I'm going to take the loop off of 6 and move it to 5. Take the loop off of 7 and move it to 6. Just tighten that up just a little bit. And then I'm going to Ewrap these 4 pegs and knit off. And again, I'm going to take the 2 loops at the bottom and knit both of those off. And push my work down. I'm going to do another decrease to the right, just as I did before, by taking my second to last loop off, put it over to the right, take my last loop, move it over, gently tighten that up, Ewrap the last 3 pegs, and knit off. Now I should have 4 loops on my loom. So now we're going to do a flat bind off. To do a flat bind off, I'm going to take my working yarn and I'm going to Ewrap the second to last peg and knit off. Then I'm going to move that loop over to the right, knit off that peg, move this loop to the left, and now I should have 3 loops on. We're going to do that same thing again. Ewrap the second to last peg, knit off, take this peg off, move it to your right, tighten it up just a little bit, knit off, move this peg over to your left, and now we will do that one more time. Ewrap, and knit over. Now we want to take our yarn and we want to make a pretty long tail, maybe about 24 inches, and then cut it off. The reason is we are going to use that tail to weave our ear into our hat. To take it off the loom, we are going to bring our hook through the loop. We are going to grab our working yarn and pull it all the way through. Take your ear off of the peg and tighten it up. Now you have your ear. What you want to do at this point is you want to take the short tail at the bottom, put that on your yarn needle, and weave the ends through the back of your ear. Your long tail you will use to secure the ear to the hat. Now we're ready to attach our pieces. So what I did is I have a 5-year-old, so I made him try this on, and then I just used some random yarn needles and just kind of put them where it looked good on his head. You can use like a styrofoam mannequin or whatever you want, or you can just eyeball it. So once I have the pieces where I want and I'm going to sew them on, I'm going to take the long yarn that I left when I was making this, and I want to put that onto a yarn needle, and then we're just going to attach them on or sew them on to our hat. And basically you just are going to eyeball it and as you're sewing it on. So for the goggle, you want to not flatten it all the way out like this, because her goggles, you're wanting to show that that has like a dimension to it for the rim of her goggle, and then this is the lens. So when we're sewing it, we want to stay on this part, but we probably want to grab a little bit of the back loops of this dark pink to kind of let that set right there flat on the hat. So I'm just going to start attaching it to the hat. And again, this is just kind of, you're going to eyeball it, pull it through, and then you're going to come from the inside up and grab like the back loop of the dark pink and just go around, going in and out, connecting it to the hat. So I'm coming back around, I'm almost at the end. Going to grab one more loop here. And then the goggle is nice and secure. So as you can see, there's no loose edges. Everything looks nice and neat. So I'm going to just make a knot on this side, and then I'm going to attach the other goggle. So I've secured both goggles, and now I'm going to secure the ears. Same thing, I'm going to take that long cord that I left. I'm going to thread that onto a yarn needle. And it really helps to have a yarn needle threader. And I like the small headed needles as opposed to the big ones that come with the loom. You can get these for like $1 at your craft store. They're easier to go through. So this is where I marked where I wanted the ear. So for the ear, I'm just going to attach it just across this top right here. That way the ear can flop. So to do that, I'm just going to push this into my hat. And you want to make sure when you're going through the hat that you're just going through this one layer and you're not accidentally pulling from the back. I know that seems kind of common sense, but sometimes when you're so focused on what you're doing, you lay it flat and forget about that. Okay, so I'm just going to come back and forth, securing through these loops. Let me take this out of the way. Once I have the ear nice and secure, I can bring that yarn to the back, or the inside of the hat. Okay, nice and secure. And then the inside of the hat, I can make my knot and weave in my tail. So go ahead and finish that and then do the other ear. And our Skye from Paw Patrol's hat is finished. Thank you guys for watching. See you next time.